My mom taught me to sell at a spaza shop. She ran a hair salon. I pretty much learned entrepreneurship from my moms.
Umntu ngumntu ngabantu. That on your own, you can't really do it. You need the support of those around you.
You will have a network of people, a network of communities, and a society that will make sure that you count.
Good evening and a very, very warm welcome to SAITA StraightTalk. SAITA StraightTalk is a series of panel discussions that is powered by SAITA, the South African Informal Traders Alliance, the recognized voice of the informal sector in South Africa, and also the organization that aspires to uniting the sector into one sector, one voice. In the series of SAITA StraightTalk, we endeavor to talk about all things that are relevant to the informal sector. We also promise you that with every SAITA StraightTalk discussion, we invite panelists that can really give insight onto and into those issues that affect the informal sector. And tonight, as usual, we have a really strong panel. I want to thank and welcome the newly elected president of SALGA, Mr. Bheki Stofile. Good evening, sir. Very warm welcome to SAITA StraightTalk. Please give us a 30-second introduction of who you are.
Thank you very much, and for inviting us to this important conversation. Because any society, if it wants to prosper, it has to have a conversation about what are the key challenges that the society faces and where the society wants to go. My name is Bheki Stofile. I'm a councillor. I'm a speaker of a municipality, and I joined local government in the last 15 years. Of service. As you know, that local government is finishing about 25 years of its existence. More in particular, local government that has built it on the basis of wall-to-wall operations and guided by the Constitution in terms of Section 152, and of course the White Paper of 1998 that requires local government to perform certain duties. And I'm coming from that background. I'm coming from the background of private sector, to be precise, more in particular, mineral resources in the country. I'm coming from that background, and then later I joined local government, and here I am. The sector said this period of difficulties, I must then lead it.
Well, thank you for joining us this evening. And let me start off the conversation by saying to you all the best of luck for the next 5 years in leading all those challenges that you're obviously starting your portfolio with. I also want to say a very special good evening and welcome to the president of SAITA, Madam Rashida Muller. Good evening, ma'am. Always a pleasure to have you on the panel of the SAITA StraightTalk discussions.
Good evening, Louise, and welcome to Comrade Bheki for joining us tonight in rather important matters to the informal sector, and that is SALGA, South African Local Government Association, which I believe all municipalities are part of. But okay, I will be corrected if I'm wrong.
Madam President, I want to start off with you, and maybe it's important that you set the scene to our viewers, and explain what that unique relationship is between our local municipalities and the informal traders, and why it's important to have a good relationship, and what has been some of the challenges that as the informal sector that we've experienced with our local municipalities.
Thank you, Louise, and also welcome to all the viewers tonight. what is important to note is the fact that, the informal traders, in particular, the market and street traders, they are working on local government land. So basically, local government is the landlord to 90%, if not more, of all street traders. Now, this is very important to note and to ensure that there is a relationship between us as the informal sector and the municipalities. But the current status quo does not always give us that view. There are many municipalities across the country, especially the ones in the rural areas, that does not even recognize the existence of informal traders. Now, we need tonight to unpack the rights of the informal trader organizations, in particularly with regard to the national movement that we represent as SAITA, and the partnership with SALGA, who oversights on the municipalities. We have been working with SALGA, through StreetNet International, through Dr. Pat Horn, and we have had many engagements on the issues of what our demands are, what we want as the informal sector. But the struggle continues, and we are still waiting upon that. That is why, Comrade Becky, I wanted to highlight the fact that in November last year, we had a meeting of a cross-sector of organizations of the informal economy workers at the Oribi Hotel in Gauteng. And we unpacked the document that is a draft document from SALGA. And that one is called the Public Space Trading Guidelines for Local Government. Now, once one goes through these guidelines, we will see that most of these guidelines are not implemented, and it's not what is currently happening. So having you here tonight, we would love to hear how we are going to ensure the implementation of these guidelines across the country, and then how we're going to develop a better, stronger relationship, and one of developmental and partnership with our municipalities. And I know there's plus minus 300 municipalities across the country.
Thank you, Rashida. Becky, you were elected at the beginning of this month at the SALGA conference, and already in her opening speech now, Rashida refers back to a meeting that obviously came before your time. I've looked at some of the keynote speakers from the conference, and I must say that what was glaringly obvious to me is that the informal trade as a sector doesn't often get mentioned. We're looking at municipalities that must get more formal workers in like accountants and bookkeepers and all of those. That was a big focus area. There was a huge focus area on corruption. We heard not too long ago you also saying that you think that the biggest problem that municipalities are failing is because of a funding allocation. But yet we find when it comes to our day-to-day or the day-to-day experience of the informal trader, it's more about legislative issues and being looked after with care. How would you like to respond to what Rashida has just said?
Thank you very much, and thank you, Madam President, for having us, and greetings really to your listeners. It is a great pleasure for us as an association to participate in the discussions of this nature, because in our view, discussions of this nature are contributing significantly in building a society that is caring for itself. Our starting point is, before you become a formal trader, you are a citizen, you are a community member, you reside in a particular space. And therefore, the space that you are residing in in terms of the statutes of our land, these spaces are managed and led by 257 municipalities in the country, and that are expected to manage these spaces on behalf of the interest of the shareholder. And in my sense, shareholder is the individual members of the public that goes out on the day of elections and votes Stofile into office, and gives Stofile a mandate that part of my interest is for you to contribute in changing my life as a shareholder. And I would want to realize this change through dividends, and the dividends is in the premise of the service delivery that is rendered to communities. And as much as you render these services and you contribute towards changing the life of these communities, then unwittingly you are paying dividends to these shareholders. And that is our posture on this matter. Before you start this conversation, there's a very interesting video that you played here. One young person saying is where he is because of his parents that has been involved in the small business, and then he grew up and become what he is today. And if you look into the history of our country, where we come from, most of successful individuals that we may mention on the list that you cannot complete are individuals that came out from these vendors and these small businesses, these traders that are trading on our spaces. And that is why local government, and that is why in the president says in the last November, or before that, there was a discussions between association and yourselves. It has been our understanding that for us to succeed, we had to hold one another's hand. We had to assist one another. There is no one in the world that has woke up and born today and become a successful individual. It his or her success, if you trace it, it comes down from a history that at one point of life, he happened or she happened to work with some people that surrounded him and molded him or her to the level of success which today we are claiming which today I might be claiming to be a successful person. So our role as association, we need to enter into this partnership. Our constitution says is to advocate, is to represent, is to lobby for the sector. Part of lobbying for the sector is to lobby for the sector to have a better way of managing the spaces in which the sector is given. And if you unpack that part of lobby, it will have a dialectical relationship between the sector or between a municipal space and the community organization. In fact, by the way, it's not a matter of willing or wish to have. The manner in which the Constitution of the Republic is made, we are defining local government. If you look any law that relates to local government, it's defining local government as a three-legged pot. The first leg of this pot is the community. The second leg is the council. The third leg is the administration. That is why it has been done deliberately. That prior municipality passing budget and IDP, which is a strategic intention over the next 5 years, it had to consult and engage and enter into robust debate and discussions with communities. So your organizations become an integral, important part of the shareholder that we are having. I'm not saying that if you listen to me, I'm not using the word community, because community, it vacillates. But shareholder is an individual that has a vested interest in seeing the success of the business. And the business of local government, it has different shareholders, including organizations such as yourselves. And that is why to us, it's an important element for us to engage and create conducive conditions for individual groupings in society to be able to make business in the manner in which they have planned to make those businesses. And that is why probably we accept the President State of the Nation when he says we need to do everything possible to remove the red tapes so that we make business to thrive. Because it's out of these informal, if you want to call it, informal businesses that create job opportunities that contribute in shaping the society that we need in South Africa. And that is why, as an association, we'll continue supporting the endeavor and the programs that your organization, Madam President, you are entering into it. I'm saying this is the new term. Let us enter into this term, part of us to succeed. If we look into South African struggle, South African struggle was meant by individuals who had a common goal and who agreed that individually they cannot succeed, but collectively they can be able to push back up to the doors of freedom and democracy. And that is why, after all, we have managed to mobilize ourselves and unify ourselves, we're able to push hard to ultimately to reach 1994. And that is why, to me, it is important, the relationship with various organs of society, so that together we can focus on how we shape this business called local government. Local government, it doesn't belong to municipalities. By the way, municipalities are integral part of community. And that is why the law refers to communities as an important leg of local government.
Thank you, Becky. Some very, very important points made there. I think for me, the most exciting one is the reference to stakeholders, because I think once we start changing the narrative around how we see ourselves, then also the way we respond to challenges also becomes very, very different. Rashida, do you want to respond to what Becky has just said?
Well, I must say, I really, really like what you said, Comrade Becky. I really acknowledge the fact that you are saying to us, as a collective of organizations representing informal traders across the country, we need to use that collective action to bring change, to benefit the informal, vulnerable workers on the ground. And indeed, I appreciate the fact that you talk about relationships and shareholders. I feel that now we can take ownership of municipalities, that municipalities need to recognize the role that we play as community and informal traders, as economic drivers, economic units out there, that we need certain decent country work. We need an enabling environment to ensure that our day-to-day business in the streets, on the corners, at the taxi ranks are conducive. And I love the fact that you say that you will support us in our programs that we wish to bring forth to see that we get the best out of municipalities. I think a very important note is to also educate municipal officials, because I don't think they understand the fact that we as organizations are, part and parcel of the local government, and that we have a say, and that we need to be around that negotiating tables with them, and not be where you come and you find that there's a bylaw that has been implemented in a municipality and the informal traders never even have participated. Now that cannot happen anymore. And I'm glad that we have SALGA and yourself as a partner to ensure that these draconian measures of the past are not implemented or taking place currently as we speak. So yes, I'm very excited about what you've said. I'm excited about shareholding. I'm excited about the support on programs and the fact that we need to take ownership with all the officials, the councillors, and everyone, that it's our government and we need to participate in shaping, like you said, in the shaping of a better society.
Mm.
Thank you.
Rashida, I do want you to touch on a couple of expectations that has been real hardcore issues for the informal sector across municipalities, and one of these were the amount of trading space that's available versus the amount of traders who want to trade. We've also spoken about municipal buildings that are available around trading areas that are empty that we could be using as ECD facilities. We spoke about ablution facilities around markets. That's an issue. Fresh water not being available around markets. Now I don't want us to scare Becky in terms of all the gripes that we have, because it's not just gripes, but these are fundamental issues in making sure that it is a working environment for people that we respect and honor. So can we just touch on that? I know we're not going to be able to delve into the deep things, but I do want you to leave a little seed so that as he starts his journey and as he goes around from municipality to municipality, that these are the things that he will keep in the back of his mind, that it's not always just about the trader. It's also about those other social issues that sort of makes the working environment a good one.
Yes, indeed. And that is why we speak about the decent country work. And we speak about the enabling environment. That encompasses everything. But to go into a bit of detail, we also have a campaign which we call the Do No Harm campaign. And in that campaign, Comrade Becky, we are placing the demands of no harassment of informal traders, no confiscation of stocks of informal traders, no evictions of informal traders. We need to realize the large percentage of unemployed people out there in South Africa, and that we as informal traders are self-employed people, and that we are the ones that need special care from local government to enhance the way we are doing business. Imagine if we have all that enabling environments in place and a conducive way of trading, and each informal trader is able to grow his business and employ one person, we'd be able to do 1 million jobs very easily. And that is one of the campaigns of SAITA. 1 million jobs by the end of 2023. And we're calling upon local government as well as business sector to assist us in the creation of that. Because if we create a better environment, better conditions, like Louise mentioned, running water, ablution facilities, we'll be able to grow businesses because it will be more aesthetically pleasing. And by doing that, we will grow and be able to employ. At the moment, the informal sector is possibly the biggest job creator in the country to alleviate the high unemployment rate. So, Comrade Becky, we are going to bring to you the fact that the partnership is needed, that the basic conditions for us, for our enabling environment, must be set. We need to set ourselves targets. Like you said, let's go rather to 57 districts in the country. Let's target per district and see how we can measure the improvement over the next couple of months till the end of the year. We have, for example, the Gazette that was passed with the waiving of the permits and the waiving of payment of permits. But that is not implemented by municipalities. A lot of municipalities are still enforcing payment, still evicting traders because they don't have a permit. And these are the matters that we need your help to assist us in, looking at that certain matters at national level be implemented at the local level. So the working relationship between SALGA and SAITA is of utmost importance. And I think it's important that we set a private meeting, a separate meeting, where SALGA officials and the executive of SAITA could sit and outline the plans for 2022 and the targets and achievements that we want to see implementing. We know we can't do everything at once. And yes, indeed, we want to be your partner. We want to be that shareholder in government. To show, for example, we are bursting at our seams, as Louisa said. There's not enough space. But there is umpteens of land around the country. Let's look together at where we can open new markets, where we can empower new entrepreneurs, as well as these buildings, that the old buildings where manufacturing can be set up. I've just seen today a project that's running at WITS under COPAC with Professor Vish, where they are cleaning certain lands so that they will be doing agri, so that we can grow our own fruit and vegetables, which we can supply to our traders in our marketplaces. We need to look at, creative ways of developing our country and improving the enabling environment that we work within. So exciting times, Comrade. You will be hearing from me. I will be getting all your details so that the conversation continues and it doesn't end here with Straight Talk tonight.
Thank you, Rashida. Becky, it's so interesting that the address by Minister Nkosi Dlamini Zuma at this year's national conference was under the heading Consolidating the Role of Local Government in Rebuilding Local Communities to Meet Their Social, Economic and Material Needs. And really that seems to be the theme, that seems to be the goal, that seems to be the only driving force that we should all be working towards. And that is to make sure that we restore the dignity within our communities by making sure that there's cohesion, that we all work together. What is your response to the issues that Rashida has highlighted?
I should say my experience in this period is that there is no individual that can succeed alone. And if we work together and hold one another's hand, we can travel very far. But we might arrive there slow, but not in time, or not quicker, if you want to call it in that way. But I think, to me, the most investment that we must do is learn to live together. And if you learn to live together, you learn to work together. In other areas, they talk about know and act on your neighborhood. You can't see crime happening in your next door neighbor and you just look away. We're slowly becoming an irresponsible society. Now, building society, it's about caring of the social ills the society is experiencing. And the manner in which our laws are made in South Africa are such that bigger percentage is expected from communities and community organizations to participate. For instance, let me make a typical example. Currently, municipalities will be doing IDPs, which is their 5-year strategic intent. What we must leave not to do in our governance politics in the country is to use IDP as a ticking box. Not to use IDP as a strategic document that it must help to change the situation in an area where the municipality is operating. What you do in that situation, you bring all important stakeholders in your business, because the business of a municipality, as outlined in terms of the municipal, in terms of the Constitution, Section 152 and 4B of the same Act, is to render service to communities, and it is to work with communities, is to work with community organizations, and it had been spelled out in the 1998 white paper. How do you work with communities? There are various ways, and I'm saying I accept that the period of the last 20 years of local government, probably we have done this much, is not sufficient. For instance, in the last 20 years, we established what we called ward committees. In the eyes of the law, are seen to be a buffer structure between communities and the municipality. That is a complementary structure to a various organizations that a municipality must engage. I'm saying, with all challenges that we face, if we can do one thing, only one thing, hold one another's hand in this term, in this period. Let's walk together to the fountain. And I believe all hurdles that are before us, through walking together and holding one another, will be able to remove those hurdles. Our mission as the new leadership of SALGA, taking over, consolidating the work that has been done by Manyoni, by Parkstow, by Ngadimeng, and many other presidents before us, and the leadership collective, consolidating on their work to put local government on the speed that it will be able to address the challenges that society is facing. To arrive to that level, first and foremost, we must correct ourselves. We must unite ourselves. We must look into the key strategic areas that we can make a difference. And we are certain on this matter that we can only succeed if we work together. That's one part. But the second part is, I was saying when I was closing the conference in Cape Town, it's very funny the way we understand government, local government, for instance. And this situation to me is very astonishing because even people that I expect them to know in universities, it's seemingly the animal local government is not really understood. The issue that I was raising in our closing of conference is that it can't be correct in the body politics where 46% of the functions allocated in the Constitution operated in the local state, but you fund local state only 9%. There's something that we need to deal with. There's fundamental something that we need really to deal with. By the way, tomorrow I'm opening a free conference on economic development tomorrow. Yes, SALGA. How do we interpret this agreement or treaties that have been reached by head of states throughout the world? Because ultimately, they land into a municipal space. How do we relate to that? Without looking into the hierarchy, is a local government, is a provincial government, is a national government, and therefore you've got three spheres of government. But ultimately, anything agreed, wherever level, it ends up into the local space. The question is, which tomorrow we'll be putting in the conference, which is the first conference of its kind, the meeting with African leaders and associations, and say, these treaties and agreements have been signed by head of states. They end up into a municipality, which it suppose these treaties to benefit communities, which in my case, communities in a way that is called, to me, is shareholders of our business. how do these communities, in your case, benefit out of these treaties? What is the role of a municipality in this process? For instance, today I'm just finishing to address SADC, local government associations. The issue pertaining what is happening in our township, I mean, in Gauteng, there's a group that is called Dudula or whatever. I think it's in Alex, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in Gauteng. What does this mean to our outlook as a nation? But what does it mean to our endeavors to build the economy? Is it about time to think about there's no reason to live together? And that is why I'm saying, Madam Chair, President, we must have a session. I accept your view that we had to have a session between yourselves as leadership of this important vehicle of change, and with ourselves. We'll be ready to engage on these matters on how we work together going forward, including we mustn't just enter into meetings and conclude agreements, and we will only revisit the agreement when we have a problem. We must then design a system that is going to help us, a system that it is going to monitor this whole handing of our program going into the future. I'm saying local government is too big to fail. When I'm saying local government is too big to fail, I'm saying shareholders of this business called local government can no longer be in abeyance waiting for a proper service delivery, which in their case is returns on their investment. It cannot be proper. Local government is too big to fail. All of us, we must put our heads together and turn it around. Because the collapse of local government is the collapse of systems and is the collapse and the failure of society. And local government, in the manner in which it has been done in South Africa, it finds its roots in communities. And therefore, communities must take a lead to contribute in turning local government around. And that is why I'm saying we really appreciate your initiative, and we will put all energies and efforts that we have in dealing with these matters. We do this, we know that in terms of law, local government or municipalities are entities. Now, these entities, they have a right and responsibility to govern themselves. They have a right to determine their objectives. But I'm saying you are an important organization. They belong to our association. Together, we can influence their thinking of a South Africa, of a municipality that we want to see going into the future. All this, Madam President, depends on our efforts. Comparing notes, speak one language, communicate, they participate. Tomorrow they will be there, most of these municipalities, when we talk about these African treaties and economic development, which is happening in local space. These are the opportunities that we can communicate our thinking. I mean, for instance, in part of my notes is that what do we do not to leave the investor or the shareholder on the sideway? And that shareholder that I'm referring to is your community organization and organizations that are living in community. Because, Madam Chair, your informal trading, so-called informal trading, anyway, to me it's formal trading because I'm here because I'm a product of that business. And I can't divorce myself out of that. But that it has a significant contribution in the economic growth of the country.
Absolutely.
South Africa today is standing at about 35% unemployed. That is recorded, not the ones that have not stopped to go to get an employment. If you put energy within the strategy of your economic development as a municipality and partner with organizations such as yourselves, I can bet you, with no money, I don't have money, but I can bet you that you can and you have prospects of success. The key out of this is how do we nurture that relationship and partnership so that it must be beneficiary, mutual beneficiary to communities and municipalities so that we grow the credit point of a municipality, service delivery, the standing and the stature and governance issues. We can achieve that when we work together. That is my take, Ma'am.
Thank you, Becky. Also beautiful closing words, and that is really about working together. Rashida, last words from you.
Now, I really feel that there is a great way forward, and that we will guarantee you, Comrade Becky, that you will hear from us within the next 10 days or so, that we can start setting up that, bigger meeting where we get into the nitty-gritties of the program and the partnership and how we can work together. The emphasis throughout the talk tonight was the togetherness, the assisting each other, that the municipality needs us to work with them to ensure that we have a good city. And I remember in 2016, we had a march throughout the country called The Cities We Want. And I think I'm going to go back to that memorandum and revisit it before we have our meeting, Comrade Becky, so that I can highlight the issues that we raised then, and let's see how we have progressed or retrogressed on those matters. But I think the partnership and has been set tonight that we will find you and we will work together to ensure that we have a better future for South Africa, for all of us. We can only hope that this partnership will work, and we will enter with a positive view into those engagements. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Rashida Muller, thank you for being present here this evening. Becky Stofile, newly elected president of SALGA, thank you very much for making yourself available an evening before you've just said you've got such an important session starting again tomorrow. So we really, really appreciate you being with us. And we look forward to engaging and making sure that together we build communities where all of us can feel proud. This is SAITA StraightTalk. Thank you so much for joining us. I see there's a couple of comments in our in the comment section from Facebook and from YouTube. Thank you for joining us. Tami, I see your question. I will get somebody from the office to get hold of you so that you can be assisted with the unfair treatment that you've highlighted there. From me, Louise, and SAITA StraightTalk till next time. Good night. Stay safe.
Thank you, ma'am.